Siddhaswarupananda, Paramahamsa Ichimane.
Namo Vishnu Padaya, Sadhusaya Bhutale, Srimati Siddhaswarupananda, Paramahamsa Ichimane.
Namo Siddhaswarupananda, Paramahamsa Ichimane. Gora Karuna Sarupaya, Radha Krishna Prasannate.
Namo Siddhaswarupananda, Paramahamsa Ichimane. Gora Karuna Sarupaya, Radha Krishna Prasannate.
Namo Siddhaswarupananda, Paramahamsa Gora Karuna Sarupaya, Radha Krishna Prasannate.
Namo Siddhaswarupananda, Paramahamsa Gora Karuna Sarupaya, Radha Krishna Prasannate.
Hare Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara, Shivasudeva Bhakta-vrinda.
Hare Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara, Shivasudeva Bhakta-vrinda.
Hare Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara, Shivasudeva Bhakta-vrinda.
Hare Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara, Shivasudeva Bhakta-vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Guru Devi, Jaya Jaya Gauranga, Jaya Jaya Guru Devi, Jaya Jaya Gauranga.
Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gauranga, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gauranga.
Jaya Jaya Guru Dev, Jaya Jaya Gauranga, Jaya Jaya Guru Devi, Jaya Jaya Gauranga.
Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gauranga, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gauranga.
Hare Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara, Shivasudeva Bhakta-vrinda.
Hare Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara, Shivasudeva Bhakta-vrinda.
Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana, Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana.
Gopala Govinda Rama,
Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana
Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana
Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana
Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana
Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana
Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana
Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana
Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana
Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana
Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana
Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana
Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana
Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana
Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana
Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana
Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana
Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana
Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana
Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana
Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana
Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gauranga.
Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gauranga. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gauranga.
Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gauranga. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gauranga. Jaya Jaya Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa. Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa. Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa. Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa. Jaya Jaya Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Gurudev.
Haribol Namaste. So today we'll continue again our study program. What we have left yesterday, we'll just recap of it. And before I discuss the narrative and the pastimes of Lord Krishna, I like to read the instruction of Lord Krishna. So when the Supreme Personality of Godhead comes to this material world, He manifests His pastimes. And those pastimes are eternally ongoing. And it is about a relationship that He wants to establish. And that relationship is based upon love, a reciprocation of love. So I'll narrate to our audience for our own benefit also that relationship that we have heard from our Gurudev, we have learned from scriptures and from the wisdom that the saintly person have passed on and written, so we can have clarity and be appreciating. Because when we hear this transcendental science, we can enter a world of that relationship with the Supreme Person. So Lord Krishna established His supremacy when He comes through His pastimes in Dwapara Yuga and now in Kali Yuga. He established always His supremacy. And when He comes He comes on his sweet will. So, when Lord Krishna was discussing with Arjuna, because during the time Arjuna got confused, he's perplexed. He was put in a situation by the Supreme Person, so he can be someone who is in turmoil, who is confused, and through his life's example, he succeeded by following the desire of his dear friend. So the relationship, although it's between friendship, and during that time it's between the teacher and the disciple, but there's an ingredient there of love. There is an ingredient of friendship, of trust, complete trust, complete shelter and refuge. So through the life's example of Arjuna, he shows us that world. So Lord Krishna advised Arjuna. He tells Arjuna, his dearest friend, because he is so confused. And then he guides him and he gives him this wisdom, whom to listen, whom to follow, who will direct him. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service to him. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth. And in text 35, and when you have thus learned the truth, you will know that all living beings are but part of me, and that they are in me and are mine. And he gives assurance to Arjuna. He reveals his heart to Arjuna. He tells Arjuna, even if you are considered to be the most sinful of all sinners, when you are situated in the boat of transcendental knowledge, you will be able to cross over the ocean of miseries. As the blazing fire turns firewood to ashes, O Arjuna, so as the fire of knowledge burned to ashes all reaction of material activities. And he tells him about the path that he had chosen, the path of Bhakti Yoga, the nectar of devotion. It is about a relationship with our eternal friend, Lord Krishna. In this world, there is nothing so sublime and pure as transcendental knowledge. Such knowledge is the mature fruit of mysticism, and one who has achieved this enjoys the self with himself in the due course of time. A faithful man who is absorbed in transcendental knowledge and who subdues his senses quickly attains supreme spiritual peace. But ignorant, the opposite, but ignorant and faithless persons who doubt the revealed scriptures do not attain God consciousness. For the doubting soul, there is happiness neither in this world or in the next. So the science of Bhakti Yoga, the nectar of devotion, is about personalities. The Supreme Person, the living entity us, like Arjuna, and In this case, it is an instructive process that Lord Krishna, being the spiritual master of Arjuna, guiding him. So, if we make progress in understanding this science, we begin to listen to the transcendental pastimes of the Supreme Person, His activities, His intent, His glories, His holy names, the Supreme Purifier, through the Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That is passed on to us by our initiating spiritual master, who is the confidential friend of Lord Krishna, who is the dear lover and friend of Lord Krishna. So he teaches us how we can be in harmony with the word of love. We enter the word of love, and I will discuss now the subject matter that we should be focusing. We should not be focusing on acquiring things, material consideration that is connected just with the body. Because the body that we are encumbered with, all these atoms will break down. So everything that is connected with this body will be separated from this body, and when we leave this body, everything is separated from us. There's this story of Lord Krishna and Arjuna. When Lord Krishna was exhibiting his transcendental eternal pastimes, his sweet pastimes that is ongoing on eternally. And it is about a relationship. So when Lord Krishna tells Arjuna, just surrender unto me and I'll protect you. I will protect you. So when a person comes in contact, the living entity, understands this science and takes shelter of the instruction of the spiritual master, he is protected. And in this case, during the time, Lord Krishna was with Arjuna. And there's this Brahmana who came to Arjuna and Lord Krishna, and is complaining that how come the administrator, the kings who were supposed to protect them, cannot protect his constituents, the Brahmanas. His wife was pregnant, and then every time she gives birth, the child just cries and then just leaves the body and dies. So he went asking protection, complaining about the situation, to be protected. So in the presence of Krishna, Arjuna being a Kshatriya, a warrior, whose natural tendency is to protect his constituent from any harm. So he said, because the Brahmana is complaining, he's telling, are there any more Kshatriya or warriors here now? How come we don't have protection? And Arjuna said to him, I will be protecting you. So Lord Krishna is there, and then Arjuna said to the Brahmana, if I cannot protect your child, your wife when she gives birth, if I cannot do that, I'm not able to protect the child, then I'm willing to enter into the sacrifice of fire, meaning he'll enter into the fire if he cannot fulfill his promise. So what Arjuna did was, during the time, he gathered his Gandiva bowl and prayed the mantra to protect the pregnant wife of the Brahmana at the time she's giving birth. But after protecting the child, which Arjuna did during that time with his mantra, trying to protect the child, still the child died. When the baby came out of the womb, he just cried. And then it's gone. When it happened, Arjuna, because his promise, he'll enter his sacrifice, in a way atone for his lack of giving protection, not able to achieve what he promised. He'll enter into the fire. Arjuna, Lord Krishna is there. Arjuna was so focused in his duty to protect the child, so he will not die. And then he did not succeed. Lord Krishna is just smiling. And then when Arjuna was about to enter the fire, Lord Krishna said, no. I will be the one to protect you. I'll be the one to help you. So the story goes on that Lord Krishna took his chariot with his transcendental chariot and the horses. Arjuna rode with him. While Arjuna was riding, they traveled into these different material elements to go to a place where all those children who died. So Lord Krishna will retrieve them to pacify the Brahmana. So Lord Krishna exhibited his transcendental power. It's so dark that the horses, the transcendental horses, that Lord Krishna riding on his chariot with Arjuna cannot go on, move on because of the darkness. And Lord Krishna with his Sudarshan chakra illuminated. And as the story goes, they went out of this material universe and entered into the transcendental world of Lord Vishnu. When they were there, Lord Vishnu is so pleased to see the beautiful form of Lord Krishna and also his dear friend Arjuna. So Lord Vishnu took all the child so he can see Lord Krishna, the beauty of Lord Krishna. And also we can see here how Lord Krishna protects his devotee. It's a relationship of loving service. The devotee offers in service his life. And Lord Krishna relates to the devotee in service, assists the devotee, he assists Arjuna, protects Arjuna. So they brought the child back and delivered it to the Brahmana. So when Lord Krishna assures us, He teaches by example. Just like our Gurudev, He teaches by example. And what is the beauty that we should see? The wonderful activities of this relationship between Lord Krishna and Arjuna. And also how the devotees, those who are completely surrendered and loving Lord Krishna, how they are so assured of that relationship that they are so focused 100% in that world of pleasing and loving the Supreme Person, and the Supreme Person reciprocates to the devotee. During the pastimes of Lord Krishna in Vrindavan, He was with the cowherd boys during that time, and then there's this demon, Agasura, who transformed himself into a big giant snake. And when the children, his associates, were playing in Vrindavan, Agasura transformed himself into this giant serpent. It is described there that the lower portion of his mouth and the upper reaches the sky. And when the children saw this giant mountain, they're wondering, how come, what is this giant cave? And being playful kids, they don't even know the Lord Krishna is the Supreme Person. But because their heart, their whole being is simply sheltered, that Krishna will protect them. He will always be there. And He is very powerful. No one can defeat Him. So what the children did was they marched and looking at Lord Krishna. Okay, we'll march there. If they're discussing, maybe it's a giant snake because we can smell the foul smell that comes out of his mouth. And anyway, if he can swallow us, he cannot swallow Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna standing there watching, wide-eyed, looking at his devotees, his playmates, who are looking at him and marching towards that mouth of Agasura. And when they went inside, Agasura is waiting for the person whom he wants to kill, Lord Krishna. And when the children went inside, Lord Krishna became alarmed, playing the role of an ordinary child, playing the role of a friend who will protect, who is eternally our supreme protector. And in this case, the relationship. The children, through their service in friendship, Lord Krishna also reciprocate in friendship. The children, they have complete faith in their shelter, in their friendship with Lord Krishna, that even in the face of death, because to enter that cave, that mouth, the giant serpent, it's like entering death, facing death, but they're not afraid. They went inside, and Lord Krishna followed them, and Agasura experienced something that gave him so much pain that his life force was separated from the body of that serpent, and his eyes bulged, and he died. And Lord Krishna protected his friends. They were so happy seeing Lord Krishna, embracing Lord Krishna. So when Lord Krishna tells us, he reveals his heart to us. He reveals his relationship with us. And that is understood by someone who is loving him, our Gurudev, who is a confidential friend of Lord Krishna. And he wants us to enter that world. And what is that world? The living entity, us. He invites us to enter that world. If the devotee makes so much effort to serve Lord Krishna, Lord Krishna also serves the devotee's intent and heart. He pleases them as the devotee whose life is simply focused upon pleasing the Supreme Person. That is the world of devotional service, and the nectar is the loving relationship, the reciprocation of that love, the service the devotee gives with love, his life, his whole being, to please someone he loves. And Lord Krishna reciprocates. That's why if we simply follow the ambassador of God, this is what we will achieve. We have become covered by, in a way, subjugated, because we have been so covered by this material conditioning because of our desire to do our own will. But here, we are advised, let Krishna be the driver. And what will be the fuel of that driving vehicle that connects us? It is the loving service. It is the sweetness of giving our heart to the Supreme Person, our life. And that is also what the Supreme Person does. In the case of Arjuna, he protects Arjuna. And in the case of in these pastimes in Vrindavan with his confidential friends, he protects them. And we can see how the devotees, children in the who are saintly person playing that role in child's body, have complete surrender, complete trust upon the Supreme Person. That's why when Lord Krishna tells us, just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master, inquire from him submissively and render service unto him, the self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth. So he's telling us this transcendental truth that is eternal, ongoing. It is about the word of devotional service. It is the nectar of devotion that when one tastes it, he wants more of it. And the more he wants it, he clings and wants more. That is the difference between pure love and so-called material love. Material love in this world, which is lust, a perverted of the real thing, not thing, the real essence, or because we use language, the verb, vocabulary. What is the difference is this. When we say, because the living entity, us, we are individuals and I am a person. So, in a contaminated state, I follow the dictates of the mind, and material desires are in the mind. So when through sense perception, false bodily identification, the love that is inherent in me is now directed upon the temporary form. Either my wife, the form of the lady, the form of the child, my friend. And it's about what I want. It is about my own happiness. So, the mind must become purified. So the mind, a purified mind that we have, a possession, must become purified with this transcendental supreme purifier, the holy names of God, who can purify the mind. And then we are able to see what is transcendental. So when a person in this condition, material conditioning, I love you, his venue or avenue to experience the sweetness is through the senses. But when one is transcendental, when one has come to the point of pure knowledge and live in that world, his senses are transcendental. He now is able to experience what is eternal. And that relationship is with connection with bhakti, the eternal activities in loving reciprocation with the Supreme Lord, and that world he enters. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth. And when you have thus learned the truth, you will know that all living beings are but part of me and that they are mine. That they are in me and are mine. As the blazing fire turns firewood to ashes, O Arjuna, so the fire of knowledge, transcendental knowledge, burn to ashes all reaction to material activities. So the desire of our Gurudev, the representative of the Supreme Person, who is a confidential, loving servant of God, is that we enter the world of loving devotion. So the process he gives us is the beginning of devotional service. It begins with hearing. So when we listen from the words coming from the lips of Lord Krishna, the spiritual master, it purifies our heart, the supreme purifier. It connects us with devotional service. So when we follow this path that is introduced, that is ongoing on eternally, begins with Harinama, the chanting of the holy names. My spiritual master, in his prayer, he prays to be engaged in that world of loving service. And he wishes as well, invites us to enter that world, the world of life. And with wisdom, knowledge coming from him, we can see this material world, we can understand our true nature, and we can see our mind, the desire in the mind. We can now direct the mind by a process that will purify the mind, the Harinama, Krishna himself. And then our heart can be directed upon that sweetness of doing what is pleasing to the Supreme Person. That is the life, the eternal life that we should be focusing, not this temporary experience that is connected with this body. It's so obvious that when you relate to somebody, you relate to the person, but because we are blinded, we cannot see the spirit soul with our eyes. But with wisdom and knowledge, we can understand now that our heart, our meditation, our focus when we are so contaminated is focused upon that temporary form. But when that living entity leaves the body, we can understand that the attraction that we have in material conditioning is based upon this illusion. We are not able to see the person, but what we want to experience is being the soul who uses that body. Now, the relation is deflected, directed upon that body that is temporary. And when the body breaks down into simpler forms, the molecules and atom breaks down, the living entity who is using that body leaves the body. Then we just, the body is gone. We're in confusion. So with this wisdom coming from the spiritual master, so here will be the conclusion of our study if we succeed. Because we're talking about graduation. Their idea of graduation is you graduate, and that is that. Live a life that is eternal, and that is devotional service, transcendental word of loving Lord Krishna. Not this ignorance that at graduation, at death, and you ask question, will I graduate? No. While under the guidance of the spiritual master, through following him, we can taste, we can enter the world of devotion through the guidance of scriptures, through the guidance of the Lord within the heart, and the guidance of our Gurudev. We are so assured that when we take refuge of the Supreme Purifier, the cause of all causes, who is a person whom we can love, who reciprocates with love, then we become like that child that we discussed, an analogy, that when the child, that baby, is embracing the mother, drinking milk from her breast, he's so calm, no worries, I'm embracing my shelter, my mother. We should be like that. But it can only be like that situation, when we have heard and applied the process. My spiritual master is telling us always, nothing ventured, nothing gained. A certain activity leads to a certain consciousness, and a certain consciousness leads to a certain activity. So what is it that we are always longing for? It is the sweetness of love. But in material conditioning, there is always the fear of death, because the conditioning is a focus upon that wrong focus that our love has been directed upon this temporary material world. Then we're also afraid. So if we study, understand the life of the devotee, eternally we won't be afraid. Just like all the cowherd boys, they enter the mouth of death with no fear. They're always thinking of Krishna. They look at Krishna, Krishna looks at them. So we stop our study program here. Let's continue again tomorrow. Thank you very much for listening. Haribol Namaste.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Shrimati Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa Siddhaswarupananda
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Shrimati Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa
Namo Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa Ora Karuna Parupaya Raya Krishna Prasaya
Namo Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa Ora Karuna Parupaya
Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jaya Jaya Guranga Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jaya Jaya Guranga
Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jaya Jaya Guranga Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jaya Jaya Guranga
Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jaya Jaya Guranga Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jaya Jaya Guranga
Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jaya Jaya Guranga Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jaya Jaya Guranga
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana. Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana.
Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana. Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana.
Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana. Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana.
Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana. Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana.
Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana. Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana.
Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana. Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana.
Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gauranga, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gauranga.
Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gauranga, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gauranga.
Jaya Jaya Shira Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Shira Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Shira Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Shira Prabhupada.
Jaya Jaya Shila Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Shila Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Shila Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Shila Prabhupada.
Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa. Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa.